What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the show. And I wanted to talk about some current events, and I wanted to talk about two unfortunate situations, two cases, and I'm going to try to combine them in one video, but I want to drive home a point. And that point is going to be you have males that are unable to accept being rejected by females. And in these two cases, one has already been solved and it obviously made a tragic end, and then the other one is still ongoing, and the facts, or all of the facts, have yet to be revealed. And so I wanted to start off and talk about Darius Miles, the Alabama forward that has been now charged with capital murder. When I heard the word or heard the name Darius Miles, I initially thought that it was Darius Miles, the prep phenom out of St. Louis, who was drafted 3rd overall in 2001 NBA draft. That's who I thought it was. For whatever reason, and I'm certain a bunch of other people thought that as well. And so, I immediately started researching, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not that Darius Miles, it's this Darius Miles, along with another guy who allegedly, based off accounts or based off of information from the victim's family, that Darius tried to shoot his shot, no pun intended, to the young lady that passed away, or excuse me, that was murdered. And she rejected him, and she already had a boyfriend, but she rejected him. And for whatever reason, Darius felt like he needed to extract his revenge, or he needed to extract his frustrations with, I guess, his overtures being essentially turned down. And then the next case that I want to talk about is the Maya Marcano, and I might be mispronouncing her name, the young lady that met a tragic end as well, again due to an emotional male not accepting her denial and just saying, hey, I'm just not interested. I'm just not interested. I'm just not into you. Have a great day, have a nice life. And yet he also, being sinister and being emotional, decided that he took matters into his own hands. He decided that she didn't need to be here anymore. And so he murdered her. And it was determined or undetermined, her cause of death, but she was found in an advanced state of decom, but she was bound with tape. The perpetrator took the easy way out. And I want to just talk about how, these cases line up, and as it relates to why I think red pill indoctrination, not all of it, but some of it, is important to men, because men need to become more emotionally resilient. And just a fancy word for emotional resiliency is being stoic, helping you to become logical. It helps you to choose yourself. It gives you more of an empowerment. That's the whole purpose of red pill. And so we've been dealing with these various different types of men on a certain kind of level, where they don't know how to handle conflict. They don't know how to handle rejection from women. They don't know how to problem solve. They don't know how to do anything other than pout. And when they pout, they go into fits of rage. They go into fits of violence. And so you can read about it in the news, and it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic, and it's I won't say a pandemic, right? But it's epidemic. It's definitely over here in the West. And so we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna take I won't say a deep dive, but we're gonna talk about both cases as it relates. And then I want to let you guys know that if you're returning to the channel, I appreciate you. Thank you. I got quite a few new subs, so I thank you already. And then if you're new to the channel, take a look, see what I have to offer. If you like what you see, then you can like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, so when I do uploads, you will be able to bear witness to this content, and perhaps it may have a profound effect on you, at least provoke thought. I am Bitter Aquarian, and this is All Things Considered, and we are going to go ahead and get started right now. And so I want to talk about, so Darius Miles, he was charged in connection with another young man as it relates to murder down in Tuscaloosa County Jail. That's in Alabama, or state of Alabama. And Darius Miles, he hails from Washington, D.C. Obviously, he's done with college. He's done with anything, because once he's convicted, he will not see the light of day. He decided to forfeit his freedom, all of the rights that are provided with him being free. And I think that, I did some research on him. I think he had some talent. He might have gotten a shot in the league. And so he just threw his life away essentially over a female. And I don't mean it in a way derogatory towards her. She just said no. And any woman has a right to say no. And guys, shooting your shot, you're not going to make every shot. You can shoot your shot, but you are not going to make every shot. And if you miss that shot, keep it moving. you have to maintain a certain level of confidence within yourself. And this is something that Darius decided that he just couldn't do. So he got booked in, and like I said, in the jail, 6:45 p.m. This is back on the 15th. So again, this is about just about less than a week ago. And so Miles and Mike Davis, they're both of Charles County, Maryland, and they've been convicted of capital murder. And so capital murder means in a sense, they intended to murder the person. And so generally, when it's capital murder, the death penalty will be sought. And I believe that at this point, that my belief is eye for eye within the law, right? Not vigilantism, not street justice, but within the law, because you have to follow the law. And if it comes to that, to where it goes to trial, because it will go to trial, and that death needs to be on the table, because you have a mother of a 5-year-old who's now motherless. You have a boyfriend, right, who doesn't have his girlfriend, but more important than that, her family misses her. And I don't know when they're gonna do the homegoing, but that's gonna be probably a large, big scale funeral, and it will be hard to say goodbye, because you're gonna think of the what ifs. You're gonna think about, wow, she's alive. She was just alive. You may think the last text message you got, you're gonna save that, your last voice message, your last video, whatever it is. You're gonna preserve that and tribute to her, because there's so much grief and so much pain. And I don't even know if they know what they actually caused. They caused a shit ton of grief, a shit ton of pain over being rejected. And so allegedly, right, because I'm gonna say allegedly because it has to play out in court, but you have a motive of an altercation within vehicles. They're out on the strip, which means they're out on the road. And so I guess I've assumed some words were exchanged, and there were shots fired. I believe shots were exchanged between both groups of people. And I believe the young lady, Janae Harris, so my bad on that, but Jamea was, in a car with her boyfriend. And again, words was exchanged, and they, shots were fired, and it is said the boyfriend was wounded, but not mortally wounded. But Janae Harris was wounded. She was mortally wounded, which means she passed away. She died. The facts are gonna play out. They are gonna come out, and I think that there could be more to this. But in any way, shape, or form, I don't think that Jamea should be dead, and I don't think that she did anything wrong. She just said, hey, I got somebody, or I'm not interested in you. You gotta learn to keep moving. You gotta learn to keep walking on and just go on with your life. I guess I'm at a loss for words, right? As it relates to this case. And so, more details are gonna come out with that. And so the next one I want to talk about Maya Marcano, and how she was 19 years old, and she was a college student in Seminole County. That's down near, that's Central Florida, that's in the Orlando area. And she's just like any other young person who's just starting their life. And she still was, she's an adult, but she's still a teen. So she's super young. I mean, super young. Both ladies are super young. They had nothing but life ahead of them. As I stated, Jamel was a mother to a 5-year-old, a devoted mother to a 5-year-old. And yet Maya died because I think there's a flaw in the system. There was Armando Manuel Caballero was a maintenance worker at the apartment complex, and when he saw Maya, he was immediately smitten. And so if you have saw pictures of Maya, and you can understand why. That was a beautiful girl, and equally as beautiful as Jamea, who passed away, or who was killed by Darius and his associate. And because Armando saw her, he immediately was physically attracted to her, and I'm sexually attracted to her. And I'm certain that he shot his shot, or tried to spit game to her, or talk to her, or whatever it is you want to call it, and she just wasn't interested. And Armando, because again, like Darius, can't handle rejection. So he decides, or he goes, and I believe he premeditated, he pre-formulated this entire plan, that he knew he was going to strike. He knew what he was going to do. He probably, in such a perverse way, took delight in being able to extract this revenge for being rejected. And Then he gets a key. He legally enters her apartment, or at least at the time it wasn't illegal, but he manipulated his authority. He manipulated his power because he was able to enter into her apartment. And so Maya was last seen, at around her apartment where she lived, and then she worked in the leasing office. And the issue came to head when she was supposed to essentially took a book of flight from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale because her family is Hispanic. They are from South Florida, but she never got on her flight. And so if anybody knows anything, that if you have your itinerary and you don't make it, your family is immediately going to think the worst, because we live in such a violent society in America, a society that is heavy in terms of the hyper-sexual nature, hyper-violent on such a level that's just unprecedented, in my opinion. And so she does not make it. She don't make it back down south. And so they felt a certain type of way. And then, as the police began to investigate, and they begin to search, and they even confront Armando, and they ask Armando, like, "Hey, have you seen this? Have you seen our daughter?" And obviously he says, "Nah, he didn't see her." And they sense that something's off, because you can kind of tell when somebody's lying. It's just something that's inherent inside you. I think that the Most High has given all of us, and that's the ability to discern. And they knew something was off, and Armando was one of these kind of scrupulous guys, these kind of dark and seedy type of dudes that just kind of like, the whole vibe just kind of it rub you the wrong way. Even as a guy, you just kind of like, I need to watch that guy. There's something about him. It's the energy off about that guy. And so as the investigation continues, Maya is not found. And then eventually, as they continue to search, as they continue to hold vigils and they pray and they're looking for it, they're holding out hope that, hey, maybe she is alive, maybe she is bound or held hostage somewhere, and that she just needs to be found. There is no solace, no peace, no resolution for what happens next. And so her body is found, and they have to process the evidence, they have to process the body, but they had to use dental records. And so he had already murdered her. I know he sexually assaulted her. He did probably sadistic things to this girl. And so I want you to, in a sense, imagine the grief that she's going through, and just being afraid, and knowing at some point she kind of comes to that, she comes close to understanding that, okay, I'm not gonna make it out of this. And so I'm certain she's praying, and then I'm certain she may have just turned herself off to where she just was physically there, but mentally somewhere else. And then she finally is killed. Again, she's already bound, because you could tell she looks like she was pretty feisty. She would fight back. And then he kills her, and then he just discards her body and tries to hide it. And then the more complex thing comes into play is he decides to take himself out. And so he knew that he was going to do that. And it's such a selfish act. And I think that it's a call to men everywhere, that if you are mentoring a younger man, or mentoring a boy or a group of boys, that, as I talked about early on in the video, that we need to preach, and we need to reinforce masculinity. And part of being a masculine male, part of being a confident male, is being able to handle rejection. And I think that it just needs to be indoctrinated, because there are too many, again, as I said earlier, sensitive males out here that's just out here, that's just, the minute something don't go their way, the minute they get upset, they want to take somebody out. So in conclusion, you have Jamea, you have Maya. Jamea's case is obviously yet to be concluded. Maya's case is concluded, but both cases, or both incidents, they both ended in tragedy, and they ended in tragedy simply because of men being unable to accept rejection. And just let me know, what are your thoughts? Drop me a comment. If you like the video, you like the video. But men, we got to do better, because there's something lost in the communication. There's something lost, and I get it to a certain extent. But I mean, we all have faced rejection. We all liked a woman or a girl at some point in our life, and it wasn't. Some guys just have it right, and they have to they turn women down. But then some of us regular people, you may go through a bout or an experience where you're rejected, and it's okay. Life goes on. You have to live that abundant mindset that there are other fish in the sea. There are a million other fish in the sea, and just because this fish don't bite your bait, there are other fish that will. And so the minute you begin to understand it, that's part of the journey, and that helps you to become a greater sense of you, to become a greater man, because greater men are going to lead us out of the mess that we're in. And hopefully, as it relates to the relationship dynamics, that things can improve drastically, because right now, this is just another black eye against men. This is just these black eyes have been earned, because you have various instances, as I stated. I've seen videos. I mean, I've been out in public where, a woman will reject a man. He'll throw a drink in her face, and you'd be like, like, did you just see that? So, and it's again, he's being emotional. He's being unresilient in his emotions because he can't handle or take that disappointment. Remember, life goes on. It is unfortunate that Maya's life did not go on. It's unfortunate that Jamel's life did not go on. But had these males just understood that, hey, it's just not meant to be. It's just not meant to be, and keep it moving, then obviously we wouldn't have these news reports, or I wouldn't have done this video. So if you like what you see, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Again, thank you to my returning subscribers. This is Bearded Aquarian, and this is All Things Considered, and I'll see y'all on the next video. Bye.